Hello and welcome back, guys. We're now starting a new story, First Dekuverse, written by JamesGrover. You can find author's profile link in the description. Let's begin. Kidnapping in canon past AN. I do not own MHA, OS, on screen class 1A plus Ari is sitting in class with their teacher, who is sleeping like usual, when out of nowhere there's a bright flash of light and they are somewhere else entirely. All Might, Principal Nizu, Midnight, and Endeavor were in a meeting discussing what he did to the members of his household when there was a flash of light and they were in front of Class 1A. Class 1B is running through an obstacle course meant to help their maneuverability when they start disappearing one at a time without a trace until the entire class minus their teacher is in the same place as Class 1A. The wild pussycats were on their way to visit Izuku at the request of Kodo when something happens and they are no longer in their car but sitting in front of Izuku. The League of No Dads, villains were consoling each other about their trauma when they appeared in front of All Might, faces still full of tears. I appear in front of them with a bright flash drawing their attention to prevent the possible fight from breaking out. Hello, I am Dash. I was interrupted by a punch from Endeavor sending me flying into the screen before he realized that he didn't have flames on him anymore, removing his facial hair. I probably have broken bones from that one, but it doesn't matter. As I was saying, I am an interdimensional being, you may call me James. How could potential broken bones not matter? Mandalay questioned, concerned. I'm used to pain to the point that I can ignore it completely. This got several looks of concern that I waved off. Not as used to it as Izuku Midoriya, but I don't think anybody can be as used to it as he is. This got everybody's attention on him. Now, if you'd let me finish, we can all go about our business much faster. We are here to react to the Dekuverse. The what now? Many people asked at once. I think it means that we're reacting to universes about Midobro, Kaminari said. Close, it means that without Izuku Midoriya your universes wouldn't exist. I state, gaining looks of complete shock from everybody. All Might, I'm gonna reveal your secret, but you don't have to worry, only those that already knew prior to me bringing you all here will leave with that knowledge. He let out a sigh of relief. All Might here is the only one in this room that was born quirkless. Contrary to everyone's knowledge, including Midoriya's, he was born with a quirk, but somebody in a very dark place wished for everything to be destroyed. I explained to the group, their shock increasing drastically. Their quirk was called One Wish, and as the name implies, the person only had one wish to use. They could not grant anybody else's wish, only their own. They had recently lost everything and Midoriya sacrificed his quirk to save your universe, thus leading everybody including himself to believe he was born quirkless. He made this sacrifice before he was even born. So you're telling me that if not for an unborn baby everything would have been erased? Aizawa questioned. Yes, and then I would have had to restart the universe from the very beginning. I said, sounding exhausted. I have gone ahead and removed Ari's trauma temporarily so that she may be around this many people without freaking out, so you needn't worry, Midoriya. Thank you. He said with a smile. Now I will warn you that many scenes in these universes will not be child-friendly, but they will be blurred out and bleeped, so you needn't worry about that either. I informed. I have a question, would you like to see this Izuku Midoriya's past before we begin on the other universes, or would you rather save that for later? I asked them, getting nervous looks from three individuals. Regardless of your choice, it will be shown eventually. Might as well get it over with. Midoriya says, sounding worried. No consequences shall befall him for his previous actions, but they can monitor him much closer if they so choose. I tell Midoriya, and both he and Bakugo breathe a sigh of relief. I almost forgot. I clap my hands and there's another flash of light and Inko Midoriya is right in front of everybody looking startled. You needn't fear, Ms. Midoriya, you shall not be harmed here. I'm the only one who can be harmed here. So you weren't kidding about those broken bones? Principal Nizu asked. Nope, I currently have 2 broken ribs. Oh, before I forget. I snap my fingers and all knowledge of what has happened and been discussed is placed Ms. Midoriya's memory. Now that you are all caught up, let's begin. I clap my hands and everybody is seated in a cinema-style seat. Eri and Kota are both on Izuku's lap while he is in the back row along with Bakugo, not needing to really see this as they both already know what has happened. Now please turn your attention to the screen behind me. The screen opens up to the Midoriyas at the quirk doctor's office. "OS, forget it kid, you don't have a quirk," the doctor on screen said without hesitation. "OS," Izuku looked shattered and dropped his All Might figurine out of shock. No doctor should ever say something so inconsiderately. Ida said, doing his hand chops. "Wait, if Deku-kun sacrificed his quirk to save the universe, then why does he still have it?" Uraraka asked. "It'll take too much more time and effort than I have to explain, so here." I snapped my fingers and everybody had the knowledge of OFA, so they understood. The video on screen fast-forwarded to the playground at school where Midoriya had just told Bakugo about his quirklessness. "OS, I guess you really are a Deku, huh? It must stand for defenseless Izuku," Bakugo said with a cruel smirk. The screen fast-forwarded again, this time to the certain day in third year. It showed the confrontation and showed, OS, Bakugo stick his head back in. "OS, you know, if you really want a quirk there might be a way," Bakugo said with a smirk. "Take a swan dive off the roof of the building and pray for a quirk in your next life." Bakugo walked off laughing. Many turned to scream at Bakugo for what he had said, but when they looked at him they saw the regret on his face plain as day and halted in their actions before turning back to the screen. OS, we see Midoriya walking through the tunnel grumbling about what would happen if he actually took Bakugo's advice. Out of nowhere Midoriya is captured by the slime villain. "Wait, you were also attacked by the slime dude?" Bakugo asked Midoriya. On screen many see All Might pop out of the manhole and spot the villain. They watch as he wastes no time punching the villain, not spotting Midoriya in the villain's grasp. All the teachers in the room turn and look at All Might with a look he couldn't discern, but he knew it wasn't good for his health. Would you like me to skip the next part and head straight to the known slime villain incident, or would you like to accept your punishment for your crime from the other teachers as soon as possible? I asked All Might. Might as well get it over with. He responded calmly, but everybody could hear the fear in his voice. OS, I resumed the video and they all saw Midoriya grab onto All Might's pant leg just before he jumped off, trying to get his attention. They watched All Might try to push Midoriya off, but to no avail, surprising them all because of his frail and weak-looking body. "You idiot. Had he not been able to hold on, you would have killed him by pushing him off." Aizawa scolded. Despite his cold attitude, he deeply cares for his students, especially this year's batch, minus Mineta. On screen they see All Might land before he deflates into his current form and explains his quirk. OS, can a quirkless person become a hero? Midoriya asked with a raised voice. OS, I cannot simply say you can become a hero without power. All Might answered before walking down the stairs. It's good to dream, but make sure to be realistic, kid. Everybody saw the look of total defeat on Midoriya's face and watched him glance at the edge of the roof before he too walked down the stairs. In this next scene you'll get a glimpse inside Midoriya's thought process. I told them. OS, the next scene showed Izuku arrive at the scene of the too well-known slime villain incident. They watch Midoriya while listening to his degrading thoughts that are heard by all except Eri and Kota, who just hear the audio of what's happening in the outside world, not needing to hear their hero think such things about himself. They see him recognize who is being held by the slime villain, though they all already knew. They heard his next thoughts about him running and not being able to stop before he settles on the path forward and starts thinking of a plan. They also see the visual image of his notebook in his mind in the bottom right corner of the screen when he finally came up with a plan, surprising both Principal Nizu and Aizawa. The screen then goes black. AFO Vigilante Deku, OS, on screen, do you really know what's in your notebooks by heart, Midoriya? Principal Nizu asked. No, I'm not quite that smart. Midoriya responded. Be honest, Midoriya. I say sternly. Alright, fine, yes I do, I have an eidetic memory. He admits. Meaning that to forgive and forget is impossible for you. Kirishima says. What does whatever mean? Kaminari asked. It means photographic memory, meaning it's impossible for Midoriya to forget anything. Yaoyorozu answers. Thank you, Yaoyorozu. I say with a small smile. Now would you like a 5-minute break before watching the first alternate universe, or are you ready for it now? I think we're ready. Ms. Midoriya answers. Okay, next question. Which category would you like to see, vigilante, unknown hero, hero student, or additional person only seen in that universe, or experimented? There isn't a single villain universe born yet, so I can't show any of those. I ask. I would like to hear the vigilante options. All Might asks. Okay, we have 2 options, one is Femme Deku, or in other words Deku is a girl, or we have Abandoned Deku. I list. Abandoned Deku. Toga says before anyone else can speak up. Abandoned it is. I move out of the way just before it starts. The screen shows an angry-looking Ms. Midoriya and I pause it immediately. Before this starts I will say that this Ms. Midoriya is nothing like the one you're about to see, I say quickly, receiving a nod from everybody before I restart the video. OS, you useless child. Ms. Midoriya screamed at a 4-year-old Midoriya. Get out, I never want to see your ugly face ever again. No wonder your father left. OS, the video fast forwards and we see a weathered-looking Midoriya entering a building looking for any type of shelter from the storm outside when he finds a man in one of the rooms. The viewers see him jump in fear before they too spot the puddle around the man. When Midoriya gets closer, All Might recognizes who it is. Oh no. All Might said barely above a whisper, but due to how quiet the theater is everybody heard him. AFO. Everyone was now fearing for the OS, Midoriya. OS, how can I help you? I don't know how to treat wounds this severe. Midoriya said, rushing to help the man. OS, you should run on home, kid, and forget you ever saw me, I'm a villain. AFO said to the kind kid. OS, you could be worse than the devil himself and I wouldn't leave you to die alone. Midoriya responds. Besides, I don't have a home to return to. OS, why is that? AFO asks. OS, because I'm quirkless, so my mother kicked me out 4 years ago. Midoriya answers. Are you in any pain? OS, no kid, I'm not. AFO says with a gentle smile. I was the #1 villain in the world, I used my quirk to do horrendous things, maybe you can use it to do some good in the world. OS, AFO then places his hand gently upon Midoriya's head, transferring his quirk to Midoriya. OS, what does it do? Midoriya asks, confused. OS, it allowed me to steal, combine, and give quirks at my will, even destroy them if I chose to do so. AFO says slowly. Do better than me with it. OS, I will. Midoriya vowed. OS, Midoriya gives AFO a hug in AFO's last seconds and sits beside him until he dies and waits for the storm to clear before dragging AFO's body into a field before using his bare hands to dig a grave for the man. How does a boy who's been abandoned have so much kindness to not abandon a villain when they are dying? Shigaraki asks, confused. Because despite their life choices or what life forced on them, they're still human and nobody deserves to die alone. Midoriya said with a sad smile, shocking the villains in the room. The video resumed only to fast forward immediately to a time that the WWP recognize all too well. Don't play that with Kota here, please. Mandalay begged. He won't have to see what you are thinking, you can relax. I would never do that to Kota despite the SCRTM punch. I say, getting a sigh of relief from the WWPs and a couple chuckles from others. OS, we see a mountain town with destruction everywhere and then we see the water hose duo down but not dead yet. Midoriya walks up to them and heals them, angering Muscular. OS, what did you just do, SQR? Muscular asked. OS, come over here and find out. Midoriya taunted. OS, run, kid. The heroes shouted, tiredly getting to their feet. OS, it's alright, he can't hurt me. Midoriya said, angering Muscular, who then charged. As soon as Muscular was in range, Midoriya grabbed his face, stealing his quirk from him right in front of the hero duo. He's quirkless now. Midoriya says calmly. The only one who can do that is that unnamed vigilante who's been going around the country for 6 years. The male of the duo says in shock. I've been doing this for 6 years. It seems like just yesterday that I started. Midoriya says reminiscently. You're just a kid. Why did you choose to become a vigilante? The female of the duo asked. I can show you if you'd like. Midoriya said with a smile. I just gotta knock this dude out first. Midoriya then used an air cannon quirk and blasted the now quirkless Muscular, knocking him unconscious. Midoriya then slowly approaches the hero duo, who are now standing completely upright and steady. He held his hands out for them to take. They did so, and Izuku activated a quirk to show them his memories. He first showed the quirk doctor visit and his mother kicking him out, causing the female of the duo to cry. He then fast-forwarded to the day he met AFO in the abandoned building and the vow he made. He also showed them him digging the grave. Midoriya then continued on his travels alone, leaving a saddened male pro-hero and an enraged female pro-hero behind. The male was sad that such a young kid took on such a heavy burden, while the female was enraged at the woman who kicked him out and abandoned him. He saved them. The WWPs and Koda exclaimed in shock, while everybody turned to look at Izuku, noticing the look on his face. He was feeling like he had failed Koda. It's been a year since Midoriya saved the water hose duo, who then retired and moved in with the WWP as backup heroes for them. Midoriya is back in his hometown and is walking down the street when he hears an explosion. He then proceeds to go and see if his help is needed. When he gets there, he immediately notices the heroes doing nothing while a kid suffocates. He steps forward and uses air cannon to blast the slimes, getting the kid's head free before using a web quirk, like the original Spider-Man, to yank the kid out of the villain's grasp before using a fire-breathing quirk to boil the villain alive, knocking him out before he then puts out all the flames with a wave of his hand. The witnesses are too shocked to stop him from leaving, so he continues along with his day. About 3 blocks away from the crime scene, the victim catches up with Midoriya. I didn't need your help, I don't owe you anything. The kid screams at Midoriya. I'd recognize that voice anywhere. Midoriya says. That's you, isn't it, Kaken? Everybody is in shock at how calm and collected Midoriya is in that universe despite what the world did to him. Blacksmith Hero, White Knight, on screen. Okay, thoughts on that universe? I ask, knowing of at least one problem I have to address before moving on. Out of nowhere 7 balls of light fly out of Midoriya and land in front of me. Midoriya, you are the only one who can communicate with them, so I'm gonna need you to translate their answers for me. I say, getting a nod out of him. Would you like me to give you a temporary body, one that will only exist inside this room? They said no, except for Nana Shimura. Midoriya answered, and one of the lights floated forward. Alright then. I say before clapping my hands and collapsing, only to be caught by a woman wearing a hero costume. Thanks for the catch, that took a lot out of me. While I take a 5-minute breather, I'll let you handle what we both know needs to be done. Izuku here thinks he has failed you, Koda, because he wasn't there to spare you the pain of losing your parents. Do you think he failed you? Ms. Shimura asked. No, he wasn't there, so he couldn't help. I know that if he was there, quirk or no, he would have helped them and tried his best to save them. Koda answered, surprising the WWPs cause they thought he would be angry or feel betrayed, but he was actually level-headed about it. Should we stick with the vigilante category or are we switching? I asked, getting back in the room. Additional person please. Principal Nizu requested. Okay, the circumstances of this is that there is at least one additional person that you won't see in any of the other universes. I informed them. In this one there are special ties to the Midoriyas. Like what? Ms. Midoriya asked, confused. Just watch and see. I answer vaguely. Well, based off of what you said and what the tests say, they are essentially a portable forge. As long as they know how to make it they can, but it's limited to weapons and armor. The unique thing about their quirk is that it doesn't seem to have a drawback. They are also able to reverse the process. Doctor said. My god, that is a strong quirk if utilized properly. Principal Nizu said. Did you hear that, Mom? I'm gonna be the best hero out there. The person on screen said. Oh, before we get any further, I should inform you that this is a Fem Deku universe. I said, getting a look of uneasiness from Midoriya. Everybody turned back to the screen, which had fast-forwarded a bit. When the person told everybody about their quirk, they were all really impressed. It's been about 2 weeks since that day, and Bakugo got his quirk as well, and then he turned into the most self-centered dummy anybody's ever seen. He walks around like he owns the place and uses his quirk on those he deems weak. Yo, YN, fall in line with me or you're next. Bakugo ordered. Sorry, but I'm not gonna be a villain like you. I won't use my quirk to hurt innocents. They responded. They were turning to walk away. Next thing they heard was Bakugo popping off explosions while yelling, so they reached their hand out and turned the nearest fallen branch into a shield and blocked his attack. He didn't let up until the teachers came and separated him from the shield they set against the tree, while he was so set on breaking it to prove he was stronger than them. DMN, who knew that Bakugo can act like a feral animal? Zero said, getting a growl from Bakugo. Everybody gave a laugh before turning back to the screen. About 2 months ago Midoriya found out she was quirkless. As soon as Bakugo found out, he turned on Midoriya like a snake. He made Midoriya his favorite victim, so they became Midoriya's #1 protector. Practicing with their quirk and learning that they could make stone shields harder than steel, but that costs them stamina. In other words, using their quirk to simply convert material has no drawback, upgrading the strength of the materials does. Another cool thing they've learned is that they can select the color the item turns out to be. They've started to embrace the nickname they were given by the people they protect from Bakugo, who, much to his hatred, still has yet to even scratch a shield they've made. They've given them the moniker, the White Knight. Now they know most people would hate it, but they actually quite like it. Also, they've started a small workout regimen set up by their dad after they asked him to. He's the type of guy who plans ahead so much to the extreme that they wouldn't be surprised if he's already planned out wedding gifts for when they get married. Point is, he planned out their regimen till the time they'll go to UA, where a professional can give them a more suitable one. He's also already signed them up for martial arts classes and paid for them in advance. Their mom has also started teaching them how to cook, and according to her they're almost on par with her. Good, it seems that somebody out there actually understands the necessity of starting early. Endeavor shouted out. In case you're either blind or deaf, I'll spell it out for you. What you did was wrong and you will be punished for it. The kid we're watching chose this path and nobody is forcing them down it. I said, trying to hold back my anger. If I could kill you for what you've done I would, but you're needed in your world just until Midoriya graduates. Now don't go getting any bright ideas. If Midoriya dies the villains win and the world is doomed and I'll have to restart it, which is simply too much work for me. I honestly wish I could be like Aizawa and crawl in a sleeping bag and sleep all day. Wait, so the person we're watching protected that version of me? Midoriya asked. And all the others that Bakugo attacked? I answered. They all turned back to the screen. Anyway, they're right in front of the restaurant and something slams into the side of the car, killing the dad instantly, and the mom is bleeding pretty badly as well. Mom, you have to stay awake. The kid begged. They tried to get her to stay with them. I'm sorry sweetie, but it looks like you're going to have to go on without me. Become the hero you want to be and don't let anybody corrupt your pure heart. I love you and always will, just like your dad. The mom said, I will, I swear. It to you. The kid vowed. I love you both with all my heart, please tell dad when you see him in heaven. They kept their mom's last words in their heart as she died in their arms. Mrs. Midoriya ran up to see them holding their dead parents in their arms with tears streaming down their face. She wasted no time in pulling them into a hug. When the cops arrived, Mrs. Midoriya informed them of what happened as the kid wasn't saying a word and she saw the whole thing. It was a hero putting on a show for the public for his ranking, and the villain pulled out a trump card and the hero chose to continue showboating rather than jump into action. In the end he lost his hero license and they lost their parents. Mrs. Midoriya officially adopted them to keep them out of the orphanages and foster care system, so they went back to the kid's house and they grabbed their stuff along with a few picture albums and the training regimen their dad made for them so that his hard work won't go to waste. They also grabbed their mom's book of family's recipes. Why is it that there are so many tragic pasts for all these kids? Midnight asked. There is pain everywhere you look if you look deep enough. I stated. Honestly, looking at Midoriya, did you expect that he was attacked physically and verbally by almost everyone around him for 11 years? I see your point. There's pain everywhere, you just have to look for it. Principal Nizu said. You're just throwing it in our faces so we don't have to look for it and can't ignore it. Shape-shifting hero, myth, OS, on screen, thoughts on the previous universe? I asked. I didn't understand it in the beginning, but as it went on I understood what was going on. Ashido said. I feel bad that poor kid had to see their parents die. Ms. Midoriya said. But I'm glad that me adopted them. I'm ashamed of the fact that pros like that actually exist in this world as well. All Might said. Which one is next? I asked. Let's do a universe where Midoriya is a hero. Hagakure exclaims while moving around erratically. Sure, Ms. Hagakure, would you like me to temporarily remove your quirk so we all can see you? I asked. No thank you, I'm happy as is, and giving me only a short amount of time would simply be teasing me. She answered. Alright then, this one is a special universe. I said before being interrupted. What do you mean by that? Pixie Bob asked. Could you see Aizawa as a father? I asked with a smirk while Aizawa groaned. I'll explain a few things before we start this universe, as we're not starting at the beginning of this one, we're actually starting towards the present. Midoriya here was born with the quirk shape-shifting. It gave him the ability to shift into any creature he chooses, be it real or mythical. He is a tad feminine in this universe, and for that Bakugo and the other boys including the male teachers attack him, while the male teachers instigate it and turn a blind eye. Because of this he had a fear of every male except his uncle Masaru and his stepfather Aizawa. I gave out one of Aizawa's signature smirks right at him and it was spotted by everyone. UDMN problem child. Aizawa groaned at me. Things happened at the USJ that Shigaraki didn't like. He viewed Midoriya as a second final boss and decided to remove it. He killed Ms. Midoriya right in front of Midoriya, causing him to end up with a split in his mentality and personality, well actually it's Aizawa in this universe. That got a chuckle out of everybody, including the villains, despite the terrible news they received. Anyway, I'd like for you all to take a look at the screen as it's about to start. OS, Midnight pulled Mr. Aizawa aside and around a corner just before it was her turn to start the test. OS, what do you think you're doing to that poor kid? You're supposed to be his father. Midnight said angrily. OS, Jiro noticed Aizawa shift his ears to hear what was going on, so she decided to listen in as well. OS, with the way you're acting it's like he lost both parents instead of just one. I get that you loved her, but if she's watching what you're doing to her baby boy then you are in for one hell of a beating when you die. Midnight continues. OS, what am I supposed to do, huh? I can't stand to see his face. He's literally an exact replica of Inko, and every time I look at him it's like he's shoving a knife right into my heart. Mr. Aizawa responded angrily. OS, so you decided to get even by hurting him for something that's not his fault. You're acting just like those kids who used to attack you because of your quirk. Midnight said. OS, Midnight then goes back into the observation room and spots the tears in Aizawa's eyes and the ears on his head and immediately knows that he heard every word they said. She's shocked and is about to go towards Izuku, but it's time for her round, so she has to leave. Is this the final exams? All Might asked. It is, and Shigaraki, All Might isn't the final boss, he's a mid-level boss. Midoriya is the final boss, the type that grows in strength with you, meaning that the stronger you get the stronger he gets. I say, knowing he'd understand. For those that have a grudge against All Might, you should watch closely. OS, by the time Midnight's round is over and she gets back, Aizawa is nowhere to be found. He's on a bus heading towards his round with All Might. When the round starts, the first thing All Might does is throw a punch using wind pressure to destroy all the buildings, and Izuku walks right down the middle of the destroyed fake city towards All Might. OS, thank you. Aizawa says. OS, why are you, a hero, thanking me, a villain? All Might asked. OS, you destroyed every building in the city with that punch, meaning that there's no need for me to try to minimize property damage, so I can go all out. Aizawa explained. OS, everybody is watching and listening to everything, and they don't like how Aizawa is sounding. He sounds almost like a robot with his lack of emotion. They see him start to shift and they see his werewolf form, but after he's in his werewolf form something else happens. Armor starts to form around him, increasing his defense, and he gets in a stance before he's all of a suddenly right in front of All Might, throwing a direct jab sending All Might flying. Before All Might gets back up, all of a sudden Izuku is in front of him and placing quirk-canceling cuffs on him. All Might then passes out. OS, exam over. Izuku Aizawa has passed the exam. The computer announced. Did he just beat All Might with one punch? Bakugo asked. And where am I? Speaking of the attendees, why am I there? Kendo asked. Same. Shinso said. Where did I go? Why am I not in Boo dash? I took away his mouth. There are children present, so I suggest you shut your mouth. I say with anger in my voice. People like you should be made eunuchs. What's a eunuch? Ida asked. A castrated male, something practiced way back in the past. I answered and every guy in the room cringed. And to answer all of your questions, Mineta, you were arrested for attempted RPE. Bakugo, you were arrested for attempted fighting. In this universe you're a lot worse. As for Shinso and Kendo, you replaced those two. Interesting. Principal Nizu stated simply. Why was Jiro so close to him? Ashido asked. It's not what you think, Ashido. After Mrs. Aizawa's death and Mr. Aizawa abandoning him, both Yaoyorozu and Jiro took up parental roles for him. In this universe Yaoyorozu and Jiro are dating. I said, at first getting a disappointed look on her face before it morphed into excitement. The Dark Protector, OS, on screen. I want to know Yaoyorozu and Jiro's thoughts on that universe. I comment. Both are frozen and I'm not sure the reason. Notice the sarcasm. Give them a minute, cause I think you just exposed some unspoken feelings. Ashido said with a smirk, I thought you were a Kamihiro shipper. I questioned, confused. Oh, I was, but I like this ship better. She commented. Just you wait. I'll be showing a couple of Azuminas as well, eventually. I comment, getting a light blush out of her. Anyways, it's time to move on to the next one. I have a question. Hagakure stated. What is your favorite ship? For your multiverse it is Izukio. I state, thankful that Jiro is still frozen and Midoriya is out cold. I snap my fingers, fixing everybody but placing Yaoyorozu and Jiro next to each other. Do you have one where Midoriya is neither hero nor villain? Nizu asked out of curiosity. I do, in fact. This next one is another one where Ms. Midoriya isn't so kind, and I believe it's for the best that things went this way, as it kept Shadow Monarch from becoming a villain. With the villains having this quirk on their side, they would be unstoppable. Let's say that they succeed in killing an adult Kota, then they would be able to take Kota and make his quirk 10 times stronger, and boom, instant anti-endeavor. I state before turning on the screen. OS, Izuku here has quite the powerful quirk, doesn't she? It allows her to take the shadows of the dead and keep them as her own personal army. I've put it into the system as Shadow Monarch. The doctor says and was about to explain more but Inko got up grabbing Izuku's arm and dragged her out to the car. I should have gotten rid of you back when you were born. You were a freak back then but I could handle that. Now you're a villainous freak. Inko ranted, not caring how her daughter felt. A clarification, she doesn't take their souls, just their shadows. The soul can choose to stick with the shadow or not. She has no control over that. I say, removing the looks of fear from their eyes. Honestly, you guys were acting just as bad as that Ms. Midoriya. Inko stopped the car as close to the forest as possible before getting out and dragging Izuku out of the car as well, heading into the woods. After about 20 minutes of quickly dragging her daughter into the woods, Inko all of a sudden stopped. Now stay here, you villainous freak, nobody likes you or wants to see you ever again. Inko says cruelly before heading back to her car at a faster pace than she entered the forest at. Izuku broke down and was crying for a long time before she heard a gunshot and a bunch of whining. Izuku, with her heart of a hero, headed towards the whining and spotted a mama wolf with her pup and poachers approaching with their flashlights. Izuku, out of instinct, approached the wolf with tears in her eyes, seeing the wolf dying and in pain along with its crying child beside it. Somebody stop them. Koda cried out. Where is it? One of the poachers asked. I don't know, but we need that pup for the money it'd bring on the black market. The other responded. In that moment the mama wolf died and Izuku subconsciously used her quirk to create her first shadow soldier. The mother wolf retained her mind as a result of Izuku not consciously making her a soldier. The wolf then attacked the poachers, killing them before coming over to the pup and Izuku and liking both of their faces. Izuku then approached the dead bodies of the poachers and choosing to make them part of her army and taking away their conscious minds, then storing them away. Izuku then followed the wolf and her pup back to their den, where Izuku was brought in and cared for by the mother wolf alongside the pup. There is a small time skip here. I point out. As time went on, a few wolves challenged the mama wolf, now named Lupa, and soon regretted it when they fell by her claws and teeth, and Izuku made them into soldiers with Lupa as general or alpha of the wolves. Soon other animals fell to Lupa to become food for Izuku and Lua, the pup, like deer or birds, and they too were brought into the small army of shadows. Izuku always let the first one keep half of their mind so they could order the others. Those allowed to keep half of their minds gained the ability to talk, to relay information or whatever necessary to Izuku. Lupa was a different case. She not only retained her free will, though if Izuku really dared to try she could order Lupa around as well, though Izuku doesn't dare, but also her emotions and gained the ability to talk. Soon a bear tried to attack Izuku and Lua, and that didn't really work out for it. Lupa and the other wolves in the army took down the bear quite easily, and it was soon indoctrinated into the ever-growing army. Other animals continued to challenge Izuku for her new title as ruler of the forest, and all fell to her mother and her mother's pack. It seems as though that Izuku is a girl who was born with what people would view as a villainous quirk. Nizu says. Though, what was that Ms. Midoriya referring to when she called her daughter a freak? That Izuku was born intersex. I state, answering the question. About 2 years after Izuku was first dropped in the forest, the few birds in Izuku's army that he has out as lookout spotted another mother dropping off their child deep in the forest and reported it to the leader of the bird portion, Allah, who then informed Izuku. Izuku, not liking that it was happening to another child, took off immediately, using the speed and skills taught to her by Lupa so that she could defend herself. Izuku's body had slightly adapted to make her better suited to living in the forest. As such, she has sharper canines for eating the meat, better senses, reflexes, strength, stamina and speed, all to keep her safe. She also lost her bright emerald green hair and eyes, which turned black to suit her in stealth. Izuku found the girl crying to herself in the same exact spot where Inko had left her 2 years prior. Izuku slowly approached to not startle the girl. Are you okay? Izuku asked tentatively. My mommy says I'm a villain because of my quirk, so she left me here to die. The blonde girl said, crying. What's your favorite animal you could find in a forest like this one? Izuku asked, hoping for a way to stop her crying. Snakes. The blonde girl replied. Izuku didn't have any snakes and immediately summoned one of the wolves. Go kill a snake and bring me its body. Izuku ordered, and the wolf ran off. About 5 minutes later the wolf approached with a 3-foot-long snake, and Izuku set to work on taking its shadow while allowing it to keep half its mind as the leader of the new snake faction of the ever-growing army. Izuku decided to let the blonde girl name the snake. Izuku then summoned the snake. Here, I'll let you name it. Izuku said with a small smile to the girl, in the same situation as her, handing her the snake, which got a smile out of the blonde girl. I'll name him Fluffy the Snake. She said. What's your name? Izuku asked. I'm Himiko, but call me something easier. What's your name? Himiko asked. I'm Izuku, I'm in the same boat as you. My mother left me here immediately after I got my quirk. Izuku answered. Can I call you Miko? That's adorable. Midnight said. It's illegal, that villain should be arrested. Endeavor shouted. Technically speaking, you're also a villain, just not one the public knows about. I state, getting a look of shock from everybody. That is not how you talk to the #1 hero. Apologize immediately. Ida ordered. Are you gonna apologize to Stain for trying to kill him? I asked, shutting him up. Todoroki, may I show everybody your past? Go ahead, I don't care. He responded. Well, I'm saying you can't, and that's an order. Endeavor shouted. I snapped my fingers, doing a few things, one being shifting the rules of this interdimensional space so that Endeavor can be hurt while making it so he can't die here. And another, changing Tuya Todoroki's appearance back to how he looked before becoming Dabi by changing his hair back to white and removing his scars. The final thing bringing the remaining 3 members of the Todoroki family here. Tuya Todoroki, would you like to roast him, seeing as now he's the only one that can be hurt here instead of me now? Don't worry, heroes, he can't die. He'll just feel like he is, and maybe that'll shut him up. Tuya is dead. Fuyumi Todoroki screamed at me with tears in her eyes. I am sorry to upset you, but you should know that your brother is alive. He faked his own death to get away from the abuse your father was putting him through. I tell her softly. Just look over there. She does and gasps in shock. Tuya. Is that really you? She asked, getting her siblings' attention along with her mother's. Mute Vigilante Deku, on screen. I took a nap while the family reunited, and I'm pretty sure everybody else did the same to give them what privacy they could get in this one-room dimension. I'm awoken by screaming and was about to yell at whoever was screaming until I noticed who it was. Just let me die. Endeavor screamed. Eldest Todoroki, child, that is enough. We have to get to this last universe, and then you can do that in the real world soon enough. I say, getting everybody's attention on me. This will be the last one I'll show you in this sitting, so someone choose a category, and if there is more than one in that category, someone else can pick. Are there any villain universes? Shigaraki asked, wanting to see Midoriya as a villain. There are, but I didn't make any of them, and as such have no right to show you them. I respond. How about another vigilante one? Toga asked. Sure, though I've only got one of them, and it's actually currently my favorite one. I tell them. Go back a bit. Are you telling me that these universes you are showing us you created? All Might asked. Darn, I was hoping to sneak that by you a bit longer. I say before answering his question. Yes, I'm the one who created these universes. So you're the one who made Showa Dad? Midnight stated. Awesome. Yes, and in this one I made him Uncle Zawa. I state, getting a laugh from most everybody except Endeavor, who is still crying from the pain. This one is a female Deku and a soulmate universe. What does that mean? Kaminari asked. It means that since the beginning of that universe people were given soul marks somewhere on their body when they turn 4. Meaning that soul marks predate quirks, so a quirk isn't required to have one. I explain. Now most people think that it takes away free will, but it doesn't. You have the choice to reject your soulmate if you want to. Another thing, it doesn't pair you with the perfect match for you, it finds a great match, and it is up to each partner to work to become the perfect match for their partner. What makes this your favorite? Yaoyorozu asked. Mina can guess. I state simply. But I will ask that you not tell anyone. I turned the screen on. Izuku has lived her entire life in the orphanage with the other kids. She helps out the caretakers whenever possible and makes sure the other kids are happy and healthy, even though she is one of the youngest in the orphanage. It's her nature to put herself last. She's turning 4 soon, she doesn't know her exact birthday and neither does anybody else, but she doesn't care about that, she's just happy to help others. Anyway, she woke up today and her head, tongue, but felt weird for some odd reason. She went to rub her head but felt something on her head, it was cat ears, and when she looked in the broken mirror in her bathroom she saw a green and black striped tail and green and black ears. She was so excited, she had her quirk. She ran downstairs and right to the head caretaker of the orphanage, the one that named her Izuku. The head caretaker spotted the excited look on her face, then spotted the ears, whiskers, and tail. She's adorable. Midnight commented. Oh my god, you are adorable. They squealed, the high pitch hurting Izuku's ears. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. Izuku ignored the ringing in her ears in favor of hugging the saddened caretaker. After she cheered up the head caretaker, she went about her day as normal, helping wherever she could, though today she was getting looks of disgust from some of the older kids for some reason. Midoriya really is too kind for this world. Nizu stated. Who let an animal in the building? One questioned with a sneer while the others snickered. This was the start of her bullying. It's been 6 years since she got her quirk. It took a couple months for things to get worse than the rude comments from a distance, but it soon turned to her receiving cat food on her pillow, that turned to the bigger ones picking her up and tossing her, saying cats always landed on their feet. While that seemed to be true, it didn't lessen the emotional pain caused by the people she helped take care of. That soon became beatings, which were caught by the caretakers, who stopped them immediately and treated her injuries. The caretakers all elected to use a portion of their savings to pay for martial arts lessons for Izuku. It would be so that she could take care of herself and to repay her for making their jobs a lot easier without asking for anything in return. At first Izuku refused, but when they kept insisting and then said that they already paid and there were no refunds allowed, she relented as to not let their generosity and money go to waste. As the lessons went on, Izuku got better at avoiding being trapped in a corner by the older kids. When this happened, she'd hear them make comments about cutting off her cat features. She also was studying way above the level of anybody she knew. She was learning about electronics, how to build and repair them along with coding and whatnot. Is Deku smart no matter what universe he's in? Bakugo asked. Yes, is my simple answer. Or I at least have yet to find one where he isn't. She's now 10 and she's been cornered for the first time in years. Things weren't looking too good for her. Get away from me, Izuku said with confidence. What have we been telling you for years, or do you also have the memory of a cat? The ringleader asked. Animals aren't supposed to talk and they can't be heroes. Now we're gonna have to punish you much harder than before, and maybe you won't forget this time round. The ringleader gave the signal and the two biggest of the group grabbed her arms and held her in place while the others started punching and kicking until the ringleader told the others to back off but the two to keep holding her. He grabbed his pocket knife out of his pocket and went forward and grabbed her jaw. He opened her mouth and grabbed her tongue. Animals don't talk and you best remember that. Then he took his pocket knife and cut out her tongue. Well, I guess you won't have any issue with that rule now. At that moment the caretakers got back from their trip to the store and caught the group red-handed. Knowing there was no escape, the leader decided that if they were going down he'd take Izuku with him and stabbed her in the stomach with his knife. The caretakers were able to pin down the kids about 2 seconds after that, but Izuku passed out due to shock and blood loss. The police arrived shortly after, tailed by an ambulance. When they arrived they found the caretakers trying to stop Izuku's bleeding and the attackers tied up. The head caretaker approached the police and informed them of what happened that they saw, and then proceeded to inform the EMTs of her injuries as best he could with little to no medical knowledge. Everybody in the audience except Endeavor was crying for what that Izuku was going through, though he looked quite close to it, or it could still be from the pain. The police grabbed the kids while the EMTs set to work on Izuku. Oh my god. A nurse said in shock. What? What is it? The other questioned. They cut her tongue out. The first stated, still in shock. This got several gasps from the caretakers and the other kids who had come out of hiding. The EMTs rushed her into the ambulance before taking off at high speeds to get to the hospital so she didn't bleed out and to make sure there wasn't any internal damage. When they got there they immediately got her into an operating room and stitched up the stab wound before taking a look at the tongue, or lack thereof. It seemed to have stopped bleeding, so they left it alone after cleaning out any possible bacteria. They sent her to a room on the first floor as she was still out cold. The screen goes black. We need to know if she's okay. Show us more. Everybody but Endeavor demanded. You shall see more at a later date, and next time I won't bring the children unless they're in the vehicle with you. I state, motioning to the sleeping children who've been sleeping for the past 3 universes, meaning they didn't see anything too bad, they just know that not many versions of Midoriya have a good past, if any. I snap my fingers and send them back before heading to bed in the newly added bedroom. The ninja on the villain's side, on screen. It's been about 3 weeks since I had them here watching universes, so I've decided to bring them back. Not this place again. Endeavor shouted in fear and anger. I'm pretty sure Dobby is up for a second round, and I'm such a poor host that I might not see it happening in time to stop it. I said in a mocking tone. No, please. Anything but that. He begged. What will happen to the kids? Deku asked, worried. You needn't fear for them, I've put them to sleep so they won't notice your absence. I tell him. Shigaraki asked for something last time and I'm here to deliver. Wait, you created a villain Deku universe? All Might asked, and all the other heroes and students looked worried. Yes, and I feel really bad about what will happen to you guys in it, but I will love seeing your despair play out. I say with an evil smirk. Are you meant to be an evil god or something? Deku asked fearfully. No, my universes typically focus on recovery from trauma and other things like that. I admit thoughtfully. I take a character from one universe and make a copy and mold the copy however I feel is necessary for a certain universe, and then mold the others of that universe to act accordingly to that character's actions. Does that make sense? I think I understand it. Nizu says. You're not evil or dark, just hurting. Like most of the villains here. I point out. They were hurt by society or their family to the point where they just wanted the pain, fear, loneliness, or whatever other negative things they were feeling to stop. That may be true, but in order for their pain to stop they caused that same pain to others. Nizu argued. I'm not excusing their behavior, and neither am I in control of their behavior. I say with a sigh. But, what I am saying is that instead of treating them like a disease on a person, you should treat them like a person with a disease and cure that disease. Heal them instead of hurting them. Can we please see Izuku as a villain already? Toga asked impatiently. I'm sorry for talking about you guys like you weren't here. I apologize to them. And sure, but is there anything you guys would like to add to the previous conversation? Nope, I think we're good. Dobby said. Though I will say thank you for defending us and painting us humans. I just paint what I see. I say before turning the screen on. OS, Izuku is wearing the old shinobi clothes that he found in that old destroyed village since his old clothes were so ripped and tattered that a TV show would have put a censor bar over his entire body. Everybody he comes across is staring at him and he finally got fed up with it and decided to do something about it. OMG, that is so hilarious. Mina shouted. Who knew that a villain could be so harmless? He even simply slapped the cops. Denki said, clutching his stomach from laughing so hard. OS, stop right there or we'll be forced to stop you by any means necessary. A random hero said. OS, Izuku walked up to them calmly. OS, are you heroes or something? Izuku asked mockingly. OS, yeah, ranks 15 and 20. The other replied surprised. OS, will somebody inform the Hero Association that they'll be needing a new rank 15 and 20? Izuku said with a smirk hidden by his mask. Many people screamed when he ripped their hearts out of their chests. Forget what I said about harmless. Denki shouted in fear. I love it, so much BLD, Toga shouted excitedly. You should know that anybody I mold is never harmless but quite the opposite by now. I comment. Yes, they are cute, hot, awesome, or adorable as well but they are never harmless. OS, now that is taken care of it's time to find somewhere to live before sending a message to the heroes. Izuku thought aloud now that he's alone since the people ran away in terror. I'm pretty sure he already sent a message. Denki said, fear clear in his voice. OS, if sending a message is what you wish to do then join us and we'll make sure it gets through. A dude with light blue hair said. Shigaraki seems less like a man-child here. Nizu comments. Oh, in this universe that trade is all an act. I say. You'll more than likely find out why later. OS, I'll go with you so that we're not out in the open while you are talking me into joining you. Izuku said gesturing for him to lead the way. OS, he walked into an alley where a purple warp opened up and they walked through. On the other side he saw they were inside of a rundown bar with a high-tech TV hung on the wall reading sound only. OS, quite the quaint little place you got here. Izuku commented. OS, thank you, we try our best. The blue-haired dude said. OS, now, what's your pitch? I asked getting down to business. You know, what are you gonna offer to get me to join your cause and all that? How is he so calm while talking about something like that? Aizawa asked. Because he already planned for this to happen. I said. He displayed a tiny bit of his power by ripping out a couple heroes' hearts to show them he had strength. OS, I can offer you a quirk. The person on the TV said. OS, no thank you, what I have is much stronger than anything you could or would give me. Izuku said waving it off. And what power might that be? Nizu asked. OS, and what might that be? He asked. OS, Izuku did the shadow clone jutsu and made the 20 of them all do a different jutsu while he activated the Eternal Manjiki Sharingan, the curse mark, and the reverse seal. And then he poked the ground shattering it. Holy SHT, Bakugo shouted in surprise. How did he do that? He just poked the ground. OS, now imagine getting punched with this amount of force. Izuku said to the shocked trio. Like I said, I have something better than anyone could offer and it's not a quirk so you can't steal it AFO. That kind of power without a quirk. Most everybody asked. Impossible. Endeavor shouted. OS, how do you know me? He asked surprised and impressed. OS, I've done my research on the strongest villains out there and those also aiming to kill All Might. Izuku said. I came across this little group in my research and simply followed the trail right back to you. Wow, we are extremely stupid. Most pro heroes said. OS, it was that easy. He asked surprised. OS, you didn't really cover your tracks or paper trail. Izuku said. Don't worry, I did both for you. That's the only reason you haven't already been caught by the pros yet. Did we cover our tracks in this universe or no? AFO asked. I don't believe we did, MSTR. Kurogyri answered. OS, we have yet to even start to discuss a partnership and we are already in your debt, it appears. AFO said. Very well, what is it you wish for so we can balance out and be on even terms before discussing a partnership? OS, not much, just your word that you'll never betray me and you'll at least consider my advice. Izuku said calmly. He has a free favor from the most powerful man in the universe and all he wants is a promise. AFO asked. Second most powerful, you mean? He is stronger than that version of you by a long shot and that version of you is stronger than you by a wide mile. I comment. And yes, he's been betrayed before and he simply wishes that he doesn't have to worry about that outcome happening again. OS, I offer you a free favor and all you ask is for my word of trust. He asks shocked. Most would have asked for money, power, literally anything big and grand. OS, I asked for you to consider my advice and having the number one villain considering advice from little old me bumps my ranking in the villain world quite a bit. Izuku pointed out. Plus, anything of that sort I could simply take from people, be it money or anything material. I mean, he's not wrong. AFO said. Yes, it seems that version of young Midoriya is a lot stronger than anybody else in the world. Nizu agreed. OS, it is true that you have the power to do so and it is true that what you asked would raise you up in the amount of power you have in the villain's eyes. AFO ponders. Very well, you have yourself a deal. I swear that neither the League of Villains nor I shall betray you and should you give me advice I'll at least give it some thought before making a decision on whether to follow it or not. OS, now, for the partnership. I start. Would you like to hear my plan first or would you like to start? He moves on quickly, after getting that kind of promise that easily I would have paused for a second to make sure it was real. Dabi said surprised. OS, we hit them hard and fast and be done with it in one blow. Shigaraki says. OS, do you want to be taken as a joke in the eyes of everybody? I ask. That's a military tactic, not a villain tactic. As a villain you gotta destroy their hearts as well as their bodies. Goddamn is he terrifying as a villain. Most all heroes and students said while the villains laughed. OS, I take it you have a better plan. AFO asked curiously. OS, I do. I state. Come on. I wanted to hear what his plan is. Hagakure shouted with a lot of people silently agreeing. The childhood fantasy made a cruel reality, OS, on screen. I should probably warn you about this one. I say. What about it requires warning? All Might asked worried. A few things, like Bakugo is nice to Midoriya. I say with a smirk. But for real, the beginning is very dark and it might make people want to kill somebody, or possibly me. What's the worst thing about it? Midnight asked. A scientist. I say and Nizu tenses. He went insane and targeted Izuku for her quirk. I say. He experimented on Izuku, who is a girl in this universe, to achieve his childhood dream. I continue. How long was he experimenting on her for? Nizu asked. Since she was 8, she was rescued at the age of 14. I told him solemnly. Ms. Midoriya was killed the same day to take pressure off of the rescue of Izuku since even if she was rescued she wouldn't have anywhere to go. I continue. This is one of the most disturbing universes I've ever created. 2 years made me the way I am today, so how bad is it for her? He asked completely serious. Broken. I state plainly. She only lets her wall down around one person for the moment and you'll see who and why when watching the universe. I say. But I'll tell you who the second person is. Momo Yaoyorozu. Why me? She asked confused and surprised. You'll find out if we see more parts of it. I say before moving out of the way and turning on the screen. OS, Izuku had a good life, she was treated nice by everybody, even Bakugo, who was known for being mean, was nice to her since he saw her as a little sister to be protected. That is until she turned 8 and villains showed up at their school and Izuku sacrificed herself to protect him, or that's what he thought, because he was unaware of the fact that they were after her the whole time. A doctor went crazy and decided that her quirk was perfect for realizing his dream. You already told us about this. Bakugo said, bored. Wait, I see Deku as a little sibling to me in that universe. Yes you do, if you were paying attention you'd have realized that much sooner. I patronize. It's been 6 years since then and now Izuku is more machine than human but still retained her head and heart as human. The doctor had done several painful surgeries on her while she was awake and strapped down, not caring that it was damaging her mentally. During my experiments at least the scientists put me to sleep, he's doing this to her with her wide awake. Nizu screamed in rage, scaring everybody. You'll enjoy what happens to him. I say, calming Nizu down a slight amount. Because of the trauma she was dealt, she was slowly forgetting everything about herself and now she only remembers one thing, her first name. The doctor forced her to train her quirk and the noise caused by her shifting forms from human to vehicle to transformer is what drew the attention of the heroes in the first place. It's good that the heroes are being drawn to her. Uraraka says, trying to look on the bright side. The only reason Izuku hasn't escaped is that the doctor uses an EMP to stop her electrical parts from working if he thinks she's going to try something or if he feels he'll get some joy from the scream of pain that having her body shut down on her rips from her throat. He tortures her as well. Nizu screamed, his rage returning tenfold. Tonight was one of those nights. And unbeknownst to either the doctor, his goons, or her, there was a team of heroes out there that heard her scream of pain. The doctor decided that he didn't want to leave her on the ground and didn't feel like dragging her to her room, so he simply used the chains attached to the ceiling to chain her up so she was hanging off the ground. You'd better be right about me enjoying what happens to him. Nizu threatens. The pro heroes waited until night time when they snuck in. The team consisted of Midnight, Aizawa, Nizu, Recover Girl who was added because of the scream of pain, and Mirko. They would have brought Present Mike but he isn't meant for stealth-based missions. I'm really not. Present Mike screamed out questioningly. You're really not. I said. They crept in, taking out the security as they went until there was 2 paths and Midnight separated from the group, taking one route while the others went the other way towards where they heard the rowdy commotion of the off-duty guards. Why is she going alone? Isn't that reckless and dangerous? Aizawa asked. It's more than likely because of the noise coming from the other path signaling multiple hostiles. Nizu ponders aloud. Midnight continued on her path until she came to a door that she knew would make noise to open, so she waited for the fight to begin before she opened the door. Smart move. Aizawa commented. Thanks, Sho. Midnight said back with a smile while Aizawa rolled his eyes. When she did so she heard the whimper of fear coming from inside, and when she took a look she grew an unsettling rage when she spotted the chained-up girl. Midnight quickly set to undoing the chains and the girl clung to her, sobbing onto her shoulder. So I'm the person she lets her wall down around because I'm the one who found her. Midnight says questioningly. Yes, she doesn't trust people and puts up a front around anyone but you. I say to her. Midnight hugged the girl tight, whispering soothing words into her ear, calming Izuku down. Izuku looked up in time to see the doctor pointing a taser at Midnight's back and spun them around, taking the taser straight to her back to protect Midnight. Why would she do that? Midnight shouted, already feeling a connection to the girl. Because she knew that he could shut her down remotely and win, but he couldn't do that with you without the taser, so when he shot her she fried it. I explained. Plus she just wanted to protect you. The tase sent spasms rocking through Izuku's body while Midnight looked up and spotted the doctor holding the taser. The doctor's screams of fear could be heard throughout the building, causing the other heroes to question what was going on. You were right. I do quite enjoy what happens to him. Nizu said, sounding pleased. But it does not appease me with the fact that he tortured that poor girl and experimented on her. He says with a growl. "OS, Midnight, what is happening on your end?" Nizu asked. "OS, I'm dealing with a monster who needs to be taught a lesson about harming little girls," Midnight said with the rage clear in her voice, causing a shiver to run down all of their spines and them to ignore the screams. "I'm heading out of the building, I've got the mad scientist along with the victim with me," Midnight said after the screams stopped. "OS, we're on our way," Nizu said with a smile. "Midnight Sensei is terrifying," all of the students said in sync, including the big three. "OS, when they got outside they saw the girl in Midnight's arms while the doctor was tied up with Midnight's WHP. As soon as Midnight spotted them she started walking towards the vehicles where she threw the doctor in the back of a cop car before walking towards the ambulance to lay the girl on the gurney. She's being so gentle with her it's surprising." Present Mike said. "OS, bring my WHP by UA after you get him in a cell," Midnight says, dropping her usual act, surprising everybody. "I'll be riding with her." She hopped into the ambulance after Izuku was loaded up. OS, the ride to the hospital didn't take long and Midnight held Izuku's hand while waiting for information from the doctor's tests. "It seems that Midnight already cares deeply for that Izuku," Nizu said. "OS, I have a boatload of bad news and a drop of good news," the doctor says, coming into the room. "OS, what's the bad news?" Midnight asks, turning her attention to the doctor. "OS, despite what she looks like, her quirk has nothing to do with her appearance, her quirk simply lets her control electronics," the doctor starts. Meaning that the cyborg body was all done by the scientist that kidnapped her. The only parts of her that are still human is her heart and her head and brain. "That poor girl," Mandalay said, sympathy and possibly pity clear in her voice. "OS, I take it that's not all the bad news judging by your face," Midnight says, the sadness obvious in her voice about what the girl went through. "OS, no, it appears that her mother was killed the same day she was abducted, she has no other relatives that she could go to, which means she'll go to an orphanage as soon as she's cleared," the doctor says sadly. "OS, and the drop of good news?" Midnight asks hopeful. "OS, as the hero that rescued her you can adopt her if you choose to," the doctor says with a sad smile, holding out the paperwork which Midnight takes and signs right away. "That takes care of that. As soon as she wakes up you are clear to take her home." No hesitation. Denki comments. "Well it's quite clear that Midnight Sensei cares for that Midori, so when it was said that Midori had nowhere to go because of those circumstances she was already formulating a way to get custody of Midori," Mina explained. "Correct," I said with a small smile. "You may not be the brightest academically, but you do know how to read people's emotions and predict their actions. Through that, you'll be a great hero, Pinky." OS, the doctor left with the paperwork in hand to file it so that it is all official. It took almost 6 hours for Izuku to wake up, meaning it was near 6 in the morning, and she woke up to someone holding her hand, which she is not used to but felt nice. It's pretty sad that Deku-kun isn't used to friendly contact, Uraraka commented. "Neither was this universe's when you first met him," I said. "You were the first friendly contact he'd had aside from his mother and All Might, though the beginning of their meeting wasn't that friendly." This got a lot of people to look at Deku with pity and sympathy, including most of the villains. Bakugo looked down in shame while Endeavor and AFO couldn't care less. "OS, good morning," Midnight says. "OS, hi, who are you?" Izuku asks, confused. I was expecting her voice to sound robotic or something, not normal. Zero commented, sounding a little disappointed. "OS, I'm the pro hero Midnight, what's your name?" Midnight asks. "OS, Izuku, I don't remember my last name though," Izuku says, looking down. "It was the doctor that caused this." "OS, how did he cause you to lose your memories?" Midnight asked curiously. "I feel bad for that, me learning exactly what happened to that sweet girl." Midnight said sadly. Something like that should never have happened in the first place. He did the surgeries on my body while I was wide awake and strapped to the table. It was the trauma that wiped my life from before I was 8 from my mind. Izuku says with a shiver of fear, so Midnight pulled her into a gentle hug, yet another strange and uncommon occurrence for Izuku. I'm sorry we didn't find you sooner. Midnight says, shedding a tear. It's not your fault, I should have tried harder to escape. Izuku says in an attempt to console the hero. Fun fact, this Izuku would say the exact same thing in that situation. I say, getting looks of shock from everyone. He will more than likely always prioritize everyone else's happiness above even his own life. That's not very healthy. Nizu comments. And it's not by his conscious choice either. I reply. That's just the way he was born. Let's just be glad he doesn't have empathic abilities or he'd never be able to sleep. Since you have no living relatives, I decided to adopt you. Midnight says out of the blue. We can leave whenever you are ready. Now, before anyone hates on her for that line. She was unsure of what to do, as she'd never been comforted by a victim before, as they've either just thanked her and moved on or lusted over her. I told them, noticing some turning their heads towards her. Midnight bowed her head, trying to ease the shame. Deku spotted this and it reminded him of his middle school days. He got up and walked over to Midnight and pulled her into a hug silently, surprising everybody there. You have no reason to feel ashamed, it's those that viewed you like that who should feel ashamed. Deku says clearly and without stuttering. You are a strong woman with a kind heart and soul who is appealing inside and out. Thank you, Midoriya. Midnight said, breaking the hug. Deku went back to his seat among the still in shock Deku squad, ignoring everybody's stares. Izuku got up and waited patiently for Midnight to get up and lead the way. The first thing Midnight noticed as soon as they passed out into public was that Izuku's whole demeanor changed from that of a human to that of a robotic bodyguard. Midnight led the way to her car that Eraserhead dropped off before heading home via rooftops. I see what you were talking about with the whole wall metaphor. Present Mike said. She's literally walling off her emotions. She's doing that because it would overwhelm her. I explained. The emotions of anxiety from being around others would suffocate her to the point of a major panic attack that could be potentially life-threatening, especially since all that stress would go straight to her heart and brain. Green Widow of UA, on screen, would you all like to take a minute before the next one, or are you good to go? It has to be unanimous or we'll take a short break. I asked gently. That last one was painful to see. Nizu said, clearly remembering his early days. And I am sorry for the pain that has caused you. You are one of the few I never want to cause pain to. I said, bowing my head. It's my own fault, you warned us about the experimentation beforehand, so it's my fault for staying and watching. He says genuinely. Are you okay over there, Midoriya? You've been awfully quiet. I asked, concerned. Would you like a break? All I got in response was a short nod in affirmation. I snapped my fingers and food and beverages were on a long table on the stage. I walked off to a room on the side to wait a little while. When I came back, everybody was either comforting Midoriya or each other, excluding a few people. Is everybody ready? I asked loudly to be able to be heard over the individual conversations and whatnot. Yes, we're ready to continue. Ms. Midoriya said calmly. This one will cause emotional pain to several and it will enrage multiple others. I warn. Some will experience both. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it? Midnight asked. It ranges from a 5 to a 10, possibly higher. I said nervously. The heroes nodded and I got out of the way of the screen. In this one, Midoriya has an older sister who was best friends with Midnight before something bad happened. I informed them before pressing play. Izumi's POV, today Eri was able to escape momentarily but was caught. They were going to punish her until I took the punishment for her. So she's stuck with Overhaul. Aizawa questioned but I didn't respond. They decided that since it wasn't a little girl they were punishing they could have some fun, instead of just beating on me since I had gone through the graduation ceremony at the Red Room. They threw me into the room that me and Eri share bare since they just ripped my clothes off stating that it would be too troublesome to take them off normally. Eri ran up to me sobbing so I pulled her into a hug before scooting into a corner. We stayed there both crying in each other's comfort until we both passed out. We were awoken by Overhaul entering the room loudly before he spotted me and exited the room before re-entering with my Black Widow outfit and throwing it at me. He took his glove off and placed his hand on the ground. "I'll kill them." Most women shouted in rage at what has happened to Izumi. Either get dressed in that or Eri dies," he said, and I quickly complied. "Good girl. Now, follow us quietly and Eri won't be harmed." I followed them compliantly since Overhaul was carrying a terrified Eri who kept looking back at me for me to smile gently reassuring her that everything would be okay. We got to a big room before one of the heroes caught up to us. "Black Widow, kill him," he ordered, but I didn't move. "Kill him or I'll kill your daughter." "Wait, Eri is her daughter?" Midoriya asked. "Yes, adopted daughter, but her daughter nonetheless. I say. Because of something that a former organization did to her, Izumi can't have biological kids." I moved immediately, catching the dude off guard and punching him in the face and knocking him into the wall. I went for another punch only for my fist to go straight through him and hit the concrete wall, shattering it, surprising the people on the other side of the wall. I jumped back and was hit in the back by Chrono's quirk speeding me up a bit, so I dove forward and nailed the black-haired dude in the face and he punched back. DMN, she even caught Mirio senpai off guard. Class 1A said, shocked. I'm sorry, I have no choice," I said to him before punching the dude with green and yellow hair. "Sir got socked quite hard," Mirio said, cringing at the sound of the hit. I was fighting all four heroes simultaneously, holding them off while Overhaul stood there and watched. He could tell I was holding back and he didn't like that. "Wait, she's fighting four heroes at once and is holding back while at a stalemate." People shouted, shocked. If you don't stop holding back, Eri's death will be on your hands," he said from his spot. I started to use my quirk and utilize the training from Red Room, that caused me to knock the green and yellow-haired dude out cold. "That's better." "Poor sir, he's already out cold and he's one of the stronger heroes out there," Mirio said. I can erase his quirk long enough for you to get your daughter from him if you'll help us," the black-haired dude said, and I nodded. "On my signal, let the green-haired boy punch you as you leap backwards." "Why did I choose to help her?" Aizawa asked. "Because you knew that no matter what any of you did you'd lose any other way," I said. "That, and you saw that she wasn't doing this of her own free will." I nodded again but made it look like I was rubbing the trickle of BLD from where he touched me in the face. Now Deku," the dude shouted, and the green-haired boy rushed forward and punched me and I let it send me flying. As I was flying I redirected myself to face Overhaul, who tried to use his quirk to put up a wall, but his quirk didn't activate and I snagged Eri out of his hands before dashing to the heroes. I set her down behind them before charging back at Overhaul and his gang. I took Overhaul out in a single punch before wiping out the rest of his guys. I then turned to the group of guys that just arrived from the other hall that held the escape path. They spotted Overhaul and the other two out cold and looked about to pass out. "They look about to PSS themselves," Bakugo shouted, laughing. You guys are dead for what you did to me," I shouted, charging at them. They tried to run but it didn't work. I leaped over them, pinning them between me and the heroes. They fell on their rears before pulling out pistols and aiming them at me. They all fired at once and I dodged every single bullet. I lunged at the first dude and knocked him out with an axe kick. The second one was met with a punch to the gut, making him puke and pass out. The third dude tried to punch me but I grabbed his arm and broke it. The fourth and fifth dudes passed out from fear before I could get to them. The sixth dude is the one who perpetrated the deed and the one I was aiming for mainly. I don't ever want to fight her. Most people said, sounding terrified. OS, you know what you did to me and you know what I'm gonna do to you for it. I say with no emotions in my voice. OS, yeah, but at least I got a good ride out of you before you could do this to me. He says with a disgusting grin. OS, I walked forward and kicked him onto his back, knocking the air out of him before using the heel of my boot and stomping on his jewels as hard as my quirk would let me. He let out a strangled scream before he passed out or died, and I don't care which it is. He deserved it. Every woman in the audience said, while every guy was busy covering themselves and flinching away from every female around them. I think she just made me gay. Mineta said, sounding completely terrified. OS, I walked over to the heroes who were looking at the dude in sympathy until the one with green and yellow hair stepped in between me and my daughter after he woke up. Sir Night Eye isn't very smart, is he? Nizu asked. No, he's not, he's also very cocky because of his power. I add. OS, if you don't get out of my way I'll kill you. You don't get in between me and my daughter. I say to him, staring directly in his eyes. OS, he gulped but didn't move until the blonde dude that arrived first moved him out of the way, and I picked up Eri before walking out of the room heading for the exit. The warped hallways and corridors didn't make it easy, especially when there were walls placed in the way, but I just smashed my way through. I could hear the group of heroes following me from a distance. OS, I'm not gonna hurt you unless you try to hurt me or my daughter or try to separate us. I called back to them, and the first one to walk forward was the blonde dude. OS, hi, I'm Lemillion, well that's my hero name. He introduced himself. OS, Black Widow is the title I gained for surviving the Red Room. I said in turn. They kidnapped me when I was 5 and trained me to be a killer, but they couldn't control me. I kept killing their guys instead of the guys they wanted me to kill, so they shipped me over here. OS, and you bonded with your little girl and then they had a way to control you. He guessed and I nodded. OS, Overhaul never sent me out on any missions, just kept me here as security, which didn't work out for him as you saw. I continued. She's not wrong. All Might said, shrugging. OS, do you remember anything about your family from before? He asked. OS, yeah, I had a mom and brother, but I don't remember who my father is. I admit. OS, do you know their names? The dude with the black hair and gray scarf asked. OS, I spotted his bleeding shoulder and stopped walking before pulling a roll of bandages out of my utility belt and one-handedly applied the bandages to his shoulder before I started moving again. Yeah, that wound is from when Toga stabbed me. Aizawa said, rotating his shoulder. OS, thank you, I'm Eraserhead. He introduced. OS, you sound like a friend named you as a joke. I commented, and he chuckled and nodded. As for your question, yes, I know their names. I'm Izumi Midoriya, sister to my baby brother Izuku Midoriya and daughter to Inko Midoriya. I properly introduced myself and the green-haired boy stopped. OS, Onizen. He asked quietly, causing me to actually look at him for once other than just his hair. You weren't kidding when you said she was my daughter. Ms. Midoriya said, surprised. Her looks should have screamed that she's your daughter. I commented. Changing, OS, on-screen thoughts. I asked. She's very deadly and better than me in martial arts. Aizawa said, seemingly having woken up. How did Overhaul get her? Midoriya asked. In that world, an organization called the Red Room abducted her shortly before they became a part of AFO's empire. I start explaining. Wait, you mean that AFO had access to her? Midoriya asked worriedly. If you'll let me continue, you'll get access to all the information I can share. I said, sternly, making Midoriya mutter an apology. Then, after her training, they couldn't control her, so they shipped her off to another new branch of his empire, the Yakuza. You already know what happened after that. Yeah, we do. Ms. Midoriya said sadly. Now for the next one, who's picking? I announce, breaking away from the sad topic. Is there a hero universe with both Deku and female Deku? Jiro asked. Careful there, Jiro, your bye is showing. I teased her. But, yes, actually. Anything we need to know about the universe before we start? Nizu asked. Yes, in this one Midoriya is born with 3 quirks. I say with a smirk before starting the universe. We see a 4-year-old Izuku wearing a green onesie that he loves, running to his mother's room acting like it's Christmas even though it's the middle of summer. Izuku, mommy wake up. Inko, I'm up. What is it? Izuku, when are we going to the doctor's today? Inko, after breakfast so we have plenty time, so go get dressed, while I make breakfast. Okay. Izuku, okay. I thought you said it had both regular Midoriya and female Midoriya. Midnight pointed out. Give it time. I say, shushing her for the others. Time skipped to doctor's office after tests. Doctor, well, it seems little Izuku here has a quirk. Inko, alright, what is it? Doctor, it seems that we have a quirk prodigy here. Inko, what do you mean? Doctor, first tell me, was Izuku a twin? Inko, yes. Why? Doctor, it seems that while Izuku's twin did not survive, her soul is inside Izuku, thus causing the gender fluidity quirk. He will have semi-control as it will take both mindsets and will act like a mutation quirk. And the other 2 are elemental, it seems. I don't know which gender controls which element, but I do know the elements. They can control air and earth. Inko, what do you mean both mindsets? Doctor, what I mean is that Izuku saved your daughter's life. She's alive, but she shares his body, and the gender fluidity quirk will allow her to morph his body to hers and vice versa. So I have 2 people inside my mind in that one. Midoriya asked. Yes, there's you and your twin. Seeing as your twin's body died and you refused to let her go. I explained. Inko, you hear that, Izuku, you already are a hero. Izuku upon hearing those words broke out into a broad grin, and he held his arm up like All Might when he's doing his victory pose. That's adorable. Hado cooed, causing Midoriya to blush. Time skipped to home. As soon as they got home, Izuku ran to his room and started practicing his quirks. He started by trying to figure out which element he had. He kept trying till Inko called him for supper. When he went down he saw Katsudon. He ran over to the table and waited for his mom to be ready to eat before he dug in. After supper he decided to help his mom with the dishes before heading back up to his room. Inko, mama's little helper, aren't you? Izuku, I love you, mommy. He's a mama's boy, isn't he? Midnight asked Ms. Midoriya, who nodded with a smile. When he got back to his room he continued trying to figure out which element he had until he realized that the element might reflect his personality. He thought about which element stood for what. He came to the conclusion that air was free, agile, and go with the flow, and earth was sturdy and unmoving. He then compared himself to the elements and decided he was a more fit for air than earth. Even that young he had such an analytical mind. Nizu stated. Izuku's room is only half filled with All Might merch, the other half is filled with Absolute Zero and Endeavor merch. It seems that Mom is a hero in that universe. Fuyumi Todoroki stated. She is in most of the universes with good Endeavor. I say before everybody gets back to watching the universe play out. When he woke up he got dressed in his favorite white shirt with brown details and headed downstairs to eat breakfast with his mom before she had to drop him off at school and head to work. After breakfast he once again helped his mom with the dishes, which he has been doing since he could remember. With the dishes done they headed to school, then Inko headed off to work. When recess finally rolled around everybody went outside and was about to head off to do whatever they normally do until Bakugo said something interesting. Bakugo, hey Izuku, didn't you go get your quirk checked out yesterday? Izuku, yes Kaken, I did. He nearly shouted it in excitement cause he loved his quirk. His announcement drew everybody back to center of the playground. OS, Bakugo, well let's see it. OS, Izuku then formed a mini tornado in his palm. OS, Izuku, I also have two other quirks. One allows my twin sister to take over my body and turn it into a girl's, and the other is controlling Earth. But that can only be used by my twin. He's so excited that it hurts to look at his smile. Aizawa said without thinking. OS, Bakugo, you're a freak just like I thought. And the smile's gone. Aizawa said angrily while looking at the younger Bakugo on the screen. OS, after he said that he shoved Izuku to the ground while others just watched as Bakugo beat on Izuku. OS, Bakugo, you'll never be a hero. OS, and with that began Izuku's life of torment, borderline torture. 3-month time skip, OS, it's been 3 months since Bakugo and his goonies started attacking me daily. Today my head has been hurting enough that I can't even walk straight. Poor kid. Present Mike shouted. Do I need to temporarily remove your quirk, Present Mike? I asked sternly, to which he gulped in fear. OS, Izuku, mommy, my head hurts. OS, Inko, can you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how bad it is? OS, Izuku, 12. OS, Inko, oh honey, do you think it could be your sister? OS, Izuku, I think so. I think it would hurt quite badly to have somebody else placed in your head. Mirio said. OS, Inko, in that case you can stay home. OS, Izuku, thank you mommy. I'm gonna go back to sleep. In Dreamscape, OS, Izuku, where am I? OS, Izumi, we're in you head. OS, Izuku, no wonder it hurts so much. Wait, who are you? OS, Izumi, I'm Izumi, your twin. OS, Izuku, I'm so happy I get to meet you. If you'd like you can go and meet mom. OS, Izumi, I will after I explain a couple things about our quirks. 1. We will always be able to communicate as this part counts as a mutation. 2. It is possible for us to merge temporarily, but I don't know how that is possible yet. 3. You were correct in all your assumptions about our elemental quirks. It seems that the girl also has quite the analytical mind. Nizu observes. OS, Izuku, so how do we go about suching? OS, Izumi, as long as we both agree to the SWCH it should be no problem. Otherwise whoever pushes the hardest wins. OS, with that Izuku relinquished control, letting Izumi take over. OS, Izumi sat up in her body and rubbed her eyes. She got out of bed before trying something. OS, Izumi, Izuku, can you hear me? OS, Izuku, loud and clear. OS, Izumi, okay, I was just checking. OS, Izumi, satisfied with the result, headed downstairs but couldn't see Inko anywhere, so she decided to test her quirk by taking her socks off, closing her eyes, and stomping on the ground using the vibrations to see her in the laundry room. That would be quite the powerful search and rescue quirk. Aizawa commented. Not to mention the protection aspect of being able to make the earth protect you and others. I added. The mother of the forest, Mandalay, OS, on screen, thoughts. I ask for the millionth time. It was one of the best ones yet, though I don't like how young Bakugo seems to act in these universes. All Might says. Would you like one without bad Bakugo? I asked and received several confirmations. Well, this one doesn't have Bakugo in it as of yet. I say. It's Femme Deku, but slightly different. Her quirk mutated her. OS, Izuku's POV, OS, it's been years since my mother abandoned me. I don't know how many, all I know is that I'll never abandon anybody like she abandoned me. There was a big ruckus by the mountain yesterday, so I'm heading towards the base to see if I can see what happened without exposing myself by leaving the forest. Quite the heroic aspiration. Nizu says thoughtfully. To never abandon someone. OS, when I get to the base of the mountain I see what looks to be 2 dead bodies, but I can hear their heartbeats. One is a little boy and looks to have a few broken bones, while the green-haired woman, lighter green than my mother had and lighter green than my fur, looks to have been beaten nearly to death before she either fell or was thrown from the mountain. Regardless, I pick both of them up, careful of their injuries, and hurry back to my cave. I know it's not the best place for them, but it's better than lying on the forest ground dying. What happened to Kota and Ragdoll? The heroes and in training shouted. Midoriya wasn't there to protect Kota, and instead Ragdoll went in his, or her, place, and well. I trailed off, not wanting to say it. Well, what? They shouted. Ragdoll didn't have the strength to fight muscular. I spit out. I quickly get to my cave, where I set them down and go about resetting their bones while they are unconscious, so that I don't have to worry about them moving around and making it worse for themselves. I also applied a salve that would neutralize the pain and speed up the healing process. I hurry out and hunt some of the animals in the surrounding area and set to preparing to cook them, knowing that they'll be hungry when they wake and having food will help them heal faster. The woman wakes up first and starts to panic. She is very methodical and quick about treating injuries, though she doesn't have the necessary equipment to do it as thoroughly as I do. Recovery Girl said. Don't move, you'll only make your injuries worse. I say, trying to calm her down. Kota, where's Kota? She asks, still panicking. If you're talking about the little boy I found with you, then he's fine, he's across from you, still asleep but alive. I say, hiding in the shadows to not freak her out more. My appearance isn't something people take kindly to. I found that out when I first tried to go back into town after I was abandoned. How badly did her quirk mutate her? Ashido asked. Where are you? She asks. Who are you? My name is Izuku, and promise you won't be scared if you see me. I ask. Why would I be scared? She asked. The last time I went into town after my mother abandoned me out here, people freaked out and ran away screaming, saying I was a monster. I said sadly. Humans really don't like anything that looks different. Nizu said sadly and reminiscently. Well, I promise I won't do that. You did save mine and Kota's lives, you know. She said. My name is Tomoko Shiratoko, but call me Tomoko. My hero name is Ragdoll. I stepped forward and she stared, but it wasn't in fear or hatred like the other people I've met, it was in awe. I heard the boy, Kota, stir and wake up, so I rushed back into the shadows, surprising Tomoko. She's so pretty, how could anyone fear her? Yaoyorozu asked sadly. He's awake. I say, and she immediately turns her attention to the boy. Kota, are you there? She asked. Ragdoll, is that you? I can't see very well. He said. Would you like me to light a fire? I ask, and he screams. Kota, it's okay. She's the one who brought us here after she found us. Tomoko said, calming the frightened child. Please do light the fire. I understand his scream of fright. He's in a different place, and somebody he can't see and doesn't know talks to him out of nowhere. Midoriya said. I light the fire and expect another scream of fear from the boy, but he looks at me the same way she did, in awe. I start cooking the deer I killed, drawing their attention to it. Both of their stomachs growl at the same time. I grab 2 bowls I made from stone and put some berries in them before heading over to them. It's not much, but it should tide you over until the deer is ready. I say, starting to feed Tomoko while handing the other bowl to the boy. Try not to move too much or you'll injure yourselves more. What do you mean more? Tomoko asked. You both have several broken bones from falling from the mountain and whatever was happening yesterday. I tell them. The boy simply has a broken leg and a broken arm, but you on the other hand have several broken ribs along with a broken arm, and both your legs are broken. Neither of you seem to have brain damage, but only time will tell. I explain. She's very thorough in her examinations, but even she can't examine for brain damage without machinery. Midoriya said, or more like muttered. Then why don't I feel any pain? Kota asked. Because, when I reset your bones I applied a salve that will neutralize the pain for a time and speed up the healing process a bit. I answer. Pain would cause you to move and that would make your injuries worse. Her logic is sound. Nizu comments. Thank you for taking care of us. Tomoko says. How can we repay you after we've healed? Just visit me every now and again. I say with a soft smile, feeding her another berry. She must be very lonely living in a cave in the woods all by herself, all because people fear her appearance. Kaminari said sadly. Bakugo isn't here, but it's still sad. Ashido said. It doesn't take long for Kota to finish his food, so I hand the other bowl to him and move him to sitting on the log I was sitting on, asking him to feed Tomoko while I tend to the deer. It doesn't take much longer till the deer is done, and I add a little bit of edible salve to keep the pain away and speed up the healing process more. I'm running low on both and I won't be able to make more until next spring, so this will be a long several months. Time skip. It's been about a month and the boy has recovered enough to move around on a crutch without hurting himself, as long as he takes it slow and doesn't fall. He doesn't really feel pain unless he jostles his arm or leg too much, but Tomoko is a different story. I ran out of salve a little while ago and have been using an application of my quirk to take her pain onto myself, allowing her to lay there comfortably. Tomoko asked me to see if there was anybody else but them alive, so I went out and looked to see if I could find any others, but all I found was a burnt building with no people or bodies. I couldn't find anyone. They either left or were captured by whoever attacked you. Everything was destroyed, but I didn't find any bodies. I tell her and she cries, thinking they left her and Kota behind. We'd never leave you or Kota behind. Mandalay declares. But you didn't even look for their bodies after thinking they were dead. I said sadly. Time skip. It's been another 3 months and Kota is fully healed, so he's been helping out by gathering berries before they become bad while I hunt for more meat. I've been skinning them properly to preserve the skins because winter is approaching and they don't have fur coats to keep them warm, or not yet at least. I have enough furs to make Kota's, but not enough for Tomoko. Anyways, she's close to being healed enough to move around a little, but not quite. It's good to see that they're healing quite nicely despite the lack of technology. Recover Girl says calmly. Yes, though there is no young Bakugo, it is still quite sad, but not anger or rage-inducing. All Might said sorrowfully. Quirkless revenge becomes their savior. On screen, now, who wants to see an Izuku Todoroki universe? I asked, purposefully confusing many. Is it a Todoroki and Deku ship or something? Ashido asked curiously. Nope, that would be a Todoroki universe. I corrected her. I'll show it whether you want me to or not. I started the universe without giving any information, much to the chagrin of many. Izumi's POV. We're here in the auditorium listening to present Mike explain the exam when this dude interrupted him, asking about the fourth robot and talking about a shameful mistake, when he turns his attention to me and starts shouting at me, causing me to cower away and try to shrink out of his sight. Katsumi, upon seeing this, got enraged and started yelling at the blue-haired dude. It would have turned into a shouting match or worse had present Mike not interrupted. In the end, me and Katsumi were separated into different fake cities, which made my fear skyrocket. I was waiting for the gate to open when the dude from before placed his hand on my shoulder, causing me to scream in fear, distracting everybody and drawing their attention to me and the dude, which in turns makes things even worse. So it's a Femme Deku and Femme Bakugo, huh? Nizu said. What has made her so scared of people? You'll know soon enough. I answered vaguely. You are too cowardly to be a hero, so just go home. The dude ordered. Ida, if I find out you did anything similar in this universe, you'll be in detention for a week. Aizawa said. He didn't, he just took leaps and bounds to wrong conclusions. I said before we all turned back to the universe. I spotted the gate open and bolted through the crowd entering the exam area hearing everybody shout about cheating, but I kept going wanting to get away from everyone, so I took to the air by using my quirk on my feet to fly, burning the shoes off of the uniform. I used this to stay airborne so that I could see if anybody needed help. I spotted a person who was quite injured, not lethal injuries, just enough that they couldn't continue, so I flew towards them and landed near them and set to work with my golden flame to heal them. It didn't take long for them to be up and on their feet again, running off to fight more robots while I went around healing other people. "Geez, Kirishima, don't you know how to say thank you?" Ashido said. Kirishima bowed his head in shame from that alt version of himself. "What is Ms. Midoriya's quirk in that universe?" Nizu asked. "Pyrokinesis. I state. Though it's much more than producing and controlling fire. It's near the end of the exam and I've healed that one redhead at least 3 times. His quirk hardens his skin, making it look like a rock. Another one I had to heal multiple times was a silver-haired dude whose quirk turned his skin to steel. They just kept lunging at the robots, not caring enough to dodge the robots' attacks. Anyways, I'm about to sit down since I'm exhausted from using my quirk and a little overheated when the ground starts to rumble and I see everybody running my way and I freeze like a deer in headlights. I'm about to run with them, but I hear 2 guys screaming for help. I see the 2 guys I've healed multiple times pinned by a large piece of rubble from one of the toppled buildings. I think of what I can do to help them when I remember one of my favorite hero's special moves. A flaming javelin, and I copy it and spear the 0-pointer through the head with a blue flaming javelin, shutting it down immediately. I sprint to the dudes and help them lift the rubble before using my golden flame on them. Endeavor is her favorite hero. Most everybody screams in shock and surprise. In her defense, he's a good guy in that one, and she has a fire-based quirk. I say, getting people to settle down. By the time I've healed them I can feel the drawback of my quirk on a massive scale. When I stand up I wobble quite a bit but keep moving with one thought on my mind: must get to Katsumi. I walk out of the fake city just as the time runs out. I reach the UA gate just as Katsumi gets there and turns around, spotting my wobbly figure, and rushes forward, catching me before I can fall. "That's very reckless," Aizawa says. "No, that's very Midoriya," I reply, correcting him. "Very true." Recovery Girl chimes from her position watching the universe. I made it," I say, out of breath. You're burning up, I gotta get you to Recovery Girl," Katsumi says. I'm right here, dearie, but this one has been requested for by Nizu, so we have to go there first," Recovery Girl says, as she's been following me the entire time. She is out of it enough that she didn't hear anybody calling out to her. "Shouldn't treating her come first?" Recovery Girl asked. Actually, the only treatment available would be an ice bath to cool her down, as her drawback is the same as Endeavor's. I reply, getting a nod from Recovery Girl. Katsumi picked me up and carried me, knowing that with how overheated I was that my brain wasn't functioning properly and I probably couldn't walk on my own anymore. It felt like no time at all when we arrived at Principal Nizu's office. When we entered I could see my all-time favorite hero there, but I couldn't really do anything in my condition. Hello Endeavor. If she wasn't feeling the drawback of her quirk at this extreme of a level she'd be completely fangirling since you are her favorite hero," Katsumi says for me. It seems that Bakubro and Midobro know each other quite well in that universe. Zero commented. They know each other just as well in this one, as they often have conversations without even looking at each other or talking in your universe. I comment, getting looks of surprise from everybody and a gulp of fear from Bakugo and Midoriya, who are looking at Aizawa. We have reason to suspect that Izumi here is the missing child of Endeavor. Do you know who her parents are?" Principal Nizu asked Katsumi. We don't have any, we're from the orphanage for quirkless kids," Katsumi says, causing surprise and confusion to spread through them. "The other kids attack us at any opportunity they get, and the adults don't stop them, they just smile at our pain. That explains the fear from before," Nizu says, sighing sadly. But you have quirks," Endeavor says, confused. OS, that's the reason we are attacked by the other kids. Katsumi says back. So in this universe Midori is attacked for not having a quirk and in that one Midori is attacked for having one? Ashido asked. Exactly. I said simply. OS, I'm gonna take some DNA to compare to Endeavor's to see if she's his daughter or not. Recovery Girl says approaching me and using a K-tip to get some DNA to do the test. OS, regardless of the results of the test I'd like to adopt the both of you. Endeavor says to the girls. OS, only if you are okay with two of your kids dating each other. Katsumi says back. We're dating. Bakugo screams. Yes, you're dating each other in much of the multiverse. I said with a small chuckle at his reaction. OS, that isn't an issue for me or the others in my family seeing as you aren't BLD related to each other. Endeavor says with a smile. By the way, can she hear what's going on or is it a total shutdown like I experience because of my drawback? I didn't realize your drawback was a total shutdown. Recovery Girl said but was ignored as Endeavor is doing his best to ignore where he is. OS, she can see and hear along with feel but her brain can't send out the signals to move her body due to the temperature her body is currently at. Katsumi says. OS, well, in that case I've got something I'd like to say. Endeavor says making me and Katsumi nervous. Good job on perfecting my special move. Was that your first attempt or have you been trying it for a long time? OS, that was her first attempt at it. Katsumi says. She doesn't like using her quirk to fight, she'd rather use it to heal. OS, how does she heal with fire? Principal Nizu asks. OS, may I try to cool her down with my quirk? A boy who's been quiet the entire time spoke up. That is actually a good idea. Recovery Girl ponders. OS, you may try. Recovery Girl says and I feel something extremely cold but it feels good and I feel my body returning to my control. OS, thank you. I say after he finished. If you want the full details of my quirk they should be on my application. But for a quick explanation I have multiple colors of fire that do different things. Red, green, and blue are regular fire just a higher temperature than the previous and the hotter the flame the faster I fly. White fire freezes my target in a frozen flame. And then there's my golden flames that heal, they heal fresh wounds and scars. May I ask gesturing to both Principal Nizu and the boy. OS, I don't mind. The boy says walking back over to me so I put my golden flame over my hand and offer it to him. Why is she offering him her hand? Midoriya asked. OS, since it's on your face I'd rather you put my hand over the scar so that you are in control of it rather than me just pressing my hand on your face. I say and he does as requested. That makes sense. He said feeling a little foolish. OS, we stay like that for about 5 minutes before he pulls my hand off his face slowly and both Principal Nizu and Endeavor lean closer in anticipation. When he finally gets my hand far enough away from his face for them to see they marvel at his absent scar. OS, I would like to wait before I heal more scars as healing scars takes a more concentrated flame and quickens the approach of the drawback. I say. OS, it is no matter seeing as you'll be attending this institution 3 weeks from now. Principal Nizu says. OS, at that moment Recovery Girl comes back into the room and the screen goes black before she can talk. We need to know the result of the test. Hagakure screams in my ear and I didn't even know she was there. That's it, I'm upgrading your quirk, permanently. I tell her before snapping my fingers. You can now turn it on and off at your leisure.